Captain Jake Martinez stood on the bridge of the USS Liberty, watching the blue and green planet grow larger on the main screen. The ship had been traveling for 3 weeks to reach Kepler 442c, a world that sat at the edge of known space. Scientists on Earth wanted to study the old ruins that survey teams had found there 6 months ago. Jake looked around his bridge crew. Most of them were young, fresh from the academy. The oldest person besides himself was Commander Lisa Thompson, his science officer. She had been studying alien ruins for 10 years and knew more about dead civilizations than anyone else in the fleet. "Captain, we are entering orbit now," said Lieutenant Bobby Chen from the navigation station. The young man had graduated just last year but already showed great skill at his job. "Good work, Bobby. Lisa, are your teams ready to go down?" Lisa nodded and checked her tablet. "Yes, sir. I have 2 teams prepared. The first team will set up base camp near the main ruins. The second team will explore the smaller sites we found in the scans." Jake approved the plan. The Liberty carried, not just humans but also their allies, the Zilani. These peaceful, blue-skinned people had been friends with Earth for over 20 years. They were good at understanding old languages and symbols, which made them perfect for this kind of mission. 2 hours later, the shuttle bay was busy with activity. Dr. Lisa Thompson checked her equipment one more time. She would lead the main team to the biggest ruin site. With her were Ensign Danny Roberts and Ensign Kate Williams, both 22 years old and on their first deep space mission. Danny came from a farm in Ohio and had always dreamed of exploring space. He was tall and strong, with brown hair and bright green eyes that showed his excitement about everything they might find. Kate was from California, the daughter of 2 teachers. She was smart and careful, always asking the right questions and taking notes about everything she saw. "Remember, we are here to learn, not to take anything," Lisa told her team as they boarded the shuttle. "These ruins are thousands of years old. We must treat them with respect." The shuttle pilot, Chief Warrant Officer Gary Mills, started the engines. "Buckle up, everyone. The weather down there looks good, but I want a smooth ride." As they flew down to the planet, Danny pressed his face to the window. "Look at those structures, Kate. They are huge. How did people build something that big without modern tools?" Kate pulled out her scanner and started taking readings. "The metal they used is not like anything we know. It is stronger than our best steel but weighs half as much." The shuttle landed near a massive pyramid that rose 500 feet into the sky. The structure was made of the same strange metal Kate had detected, and it shined in the light of the alien sun. Around the pyramid were smaller buildings, all connected by wide stone paths. Lisa stepped out of the shuttle first. The air was clean and fresh, with a slight smell of flowers from the purple plants that grew everywhere. "Teams, set up the equipment. I want a full scan of the area before we go inside any buildings." For the next 4 hours, the teams worked to map the site. Danny and Kate worked together, moving from building to building with their scanners. They found rooms filled with strange machines, walls covered in symbols and art that showed people who looked almost human, but had longer arms and bigger eyes. "Dr. Thompson, you need to see this," Kate called from inside one of the smaller buildings. When Lisa arrived, Kate pointed to a wall covered in metal plates. Each plate had symbols carved into it. "These look like star maps, but they show places we have never seen before." Lisa studied the plates carefully. "You are right. These maps show star systems that are not in any of our databases. This civilization must have traveled much farther than we thought." Danny was working in the next room when his scanner started making loud beeping sounds. "Dr. Thompson, I am getting strange readings over here. There is something big underground right below this building." Lisa hurried over to look at Danny's scanner. The device showed a large hollow space about 50 feet down. "It looks like a chamber of some kind. Mark this location. We will need special equipment to explore it safely." As the team continued their work, none of them noticed the space around the planet beginning to shimmer. High above them, ships were arriving, but they used technology that made them invisible to human sensors. Kate was taking pictures of more symbol walls when her communicator buzzed. "All teams, this is Captain Martinez. We are detecting unusual energy readings in your area. Please report your status." Lisa grabbed her communicator. Captain, we are fine down here. All teams are accounted for. What kind of energy readings? Before Jake could answer, the sky above them turned dark. Kate looked up and screamed. Massive ships were appearing out of nowhere, blocking out the sun. The ships were black and angular, with red lights that pulsed like angry eyes. Everyone back to the shuttle now, Lisa shouted. But it was too late. Beams of red light shot down from the ships, hitting the ground around them. Where the beams touched, the earth turned to glass. More beams created a circle around the human teams, trapping them. Chief Mills tried to start the shuttle, but nothing happened. The engines are dead, Dr. Thompson. Something is jamming all our systems. The largest ship descended until it was just 100 feet above them. A voice spoke in perfect English, cold and harsh. Humans of Earth, you are now prisoners of the Vorthan Empire. Surrender immediately or be destroyed. Lisa stepped forward, her hands raised. We are scientists on a peaceful mission. We have done nothing wrong. The voice laughed, a sound like breaking glass. Your rights do not matter. You have entered Vorthan space without permission. All humans are now property of the Empire. Soldiers began beaming down from the ships. They were tall and thin, with gray skin and black eyes. Each one carried a weapon that looked like a metal rod with energy crackling around it. The Vorthan commander walked up to Lisa. I am War Leader Thax. You will come with us. Your ship in orbit has already been disabled. There will be no rescue. Danny stepped protectively in front of Kate. You cannot do this. Our government will not stand for it. Thax struck Danny with his weapon, sending electricity through the young man's body. Danny fell to the ground, his muscles twitching from the shock. Your government is weak and far away. You belong to us now. Kate knelt beside Danny, trying to help him stand. Are you okay? Danny gritted his teeth against the pain. I will be. Fine. Do not give them the satisfaction of seeing us afraid. The Vorthans forced the human teams into metal cages that materialized from their ships. As they were lifted into the air, Lisa managed to activate a small emergency beacon hidden in her belt. The signal was weak, but it might reach the Liberty. On the ship's bridge, Captain Jake Martinez watched helplessly as his people were taken. The Vorthan ships had appeared without warning and hit the Liberty with some kind of energy weapon that knocked out most of their systems. They were floating dead in space, unable to fight or run. Captain, I am getting a weak signal from Dr. Thompson's team, reported Communications Officer Amy Foster. It is just a distress beacon, but it means they are still alive. Jake stared at the enemy ships on his screen. Send a message to Earth immediately. Tell them what happened here. Tell them the Vorthans have taken our people. As the Vorthan fleet disappeared into hyperspace with their prisoners, Jake made a promise to himself. Somehow, some way, he would make sure Danny, Kate, and the others came home. He did not know it yet, but his message to Earth was about to wake something that had been sleeping for a very long time. The Vorthans had just made the biggest mistake in galactic history. They had taken Earth's children. Admiral Helen Foster sat in the emergency meeting room aboard New Geneva Station, Earth's main diplomatic outpost. The holographic display showed representatives from 43 different species, all talking at once. The news of the Vorthan attack had spread through the galaxy in just 6 hours. Helen banged her gavel on the table. Order! We will have order in this chamber. The Altarian ambassador, Zenthara, raised one of her 4 arms. The tall, golden-skinned alien had been a friend to humanity for decades. Admiral Foster, the Altarian Republic offers our support in securing the release of your people. We can provide mediators to negotiate with the Vorthans. From the water-filled tank that served as his seat, Consul Title Song of the Nereid spoke in his bubbling voice. The Oceanic Alliance also offers assistance. We have trade agreements with the Vorthans. Perhaps we can pressure them through economic means. Helen nodded her thanks to both allies. We appreciate your offers, but first we need to understand what we are dealing with. What can you tell us about the Vorthan Empire? A new voice spoke from the back of the chamber. They are a young species, Admiral. Barely 2,000 years of space travel. They believe strength is the only thing that matters. Everyone turned to look at the speaker. The chronicler was ancient beyond measure, a being of pure energy that maintained the historical records of the galaxy. It appeared as a shifting cloud of silver light, and when it spoke, its voice seemed to come from everywhere at once. "Chronicler," Helen said with respect. "What do you know about the Vorthons?" "I know they are fools," the chronicler replied. "They have broken one of the oldest unwritten laws in the galaxy." Zenthara leaned forward. "What law?" "The Vorthons have not violated any formal treaties." The chronicler's light grew brighter. "Not a law written in your treaties or agreements. A law written in blood and fear, passed down in whispers from one generation to the next. They have taken Earth's children." Admiral Foster frowned. "I do not understand. Earth has been part of the galactic community for over a century. We have never made any special rules about our young people." "You did not need to," the chronicler said. "Your species taught the galaxy that lesson long ago. Tell me, Admiral, what do you know of the Devourer War?" Helen searched her memory. "I have never heard of any Devourer War." "Because there were no survivors to write the history," the chronicler explained. "This happened 150 years ago, when your species was still new to space travel. The Devourers were a race that specialized in taking the young of other species. They believed that breaking a species' protective bonds made them easier to conquer. The chamber had gone completely silent. Even the constant background chatter of the translation systems had stopped. The chronicler continued. The Devourers took 17 human children from a colony ship. They demanded that Earth surrender its entire fleet in exchange for the children's safe return. "What happened?" asked Consul Titlesong. Earth's response was swift and terrible. They did not negotiate. They did not send diplomats. They sent every ship they had, commanded by a woman named Admiral Sarah Clark. The humans tracked the Devourers to their home system and gave them one chance to return the children unharmed. Zenthara's golden skin had turned pale. "And when the Devourers refused?" "There are no more Devourers," the chronicler said simply. "Admiral Clark and her fleet destroyed every Devourer ship, station, and colony they could find. The species was extinct within 6 months." The silence in the chamber was deafening. Helen felt a cold feeling in her stomach. "Surely that is just a story. Humans are not capable of genocide, are they not?" the chronicler asked. "Admiral Foster, what is your first instinct when you think of those young people in Vorthon hands?" Helen did not answer, but she could feel the truth of it burning in her chest. She wanted to hurt the Vorthons. She wanted to make them pay for taking Danny Roberts and Kate Williams and the others. "The older species remember," the chronicler went on. "We passed down the warning. Never harm Earth's children, for their parents will burn the galaxy to get them back. Most young species think it is just a legend. The Vorthons are about to learn it is not." Zenthara stood up from her seat. "Chronicler, with respect, that was a different time. Humans today are civilized. They follow laws and treaties. They would not commit genocide over a few prisoners." Before the chronicler could answer, Helen's communicator buzzed. "Admiral, this is Priority 1 from Earth Command." Helen activated the device. The voice of Fleet Admiral Robert Hayes filled the chamber. "Helen, I need you to return to Earth immediately. We are calling up every reserve ship and crew we have. The President is mobilizing the entire fleet." "Bob, wait," Helen said. "We are working on a diplomatic solution. Give us time to negotiate." "There will be no negotiations," Admiral Hayes replied. "The Vorthons just sent us a message. They showed video of our people in chains, working in their mines. They said humans make good slaves because we are strong but stupid." Helen felt her heart stop. "Are Danny and Kate alive?" "Yes, but they look hurt." "Helen, I have never seen the President this angry. She has authorized Operation Righteous Fury. We are going to war." The communication ended, leaving the chamber in stunned silence. Admiral Foster looked around at the faces of her alien allies and saw fear in their eyes. Zenthara was the first to speak. "Admiral, please. War will solve nothing. Let us try to negotiate with the Vorthons. We can offer them anything they want." Helen stood up slowly. "I appreciate your concern, Ambassador, but you do not understand. This is not about politics or territory. This is about family. But surely your government will listen to reason, Consul Title Song said. You cannot start a war over two young people. Helen looked at the Nereid with sad eyes. Consul, you have children of your own, do you not? Yes, 7 offspring. And if someone took them and hurt them, what would you do? Title Song was quiet, for a moment. I would do anything to get them back. Then you understand, Helen said. Danny Roberts is 22 years old. His mother still sends him care packages. Kate Williams calls her father every Sunday to tell him about her week. They are not just soldiers to us. They are our children. The chronicler's light pulsed slowly. The Vorthons do not understand this. They see only weakness in the bonds between humans. They do not realize that these bonds are what make your species so dangerous when threatened. Admiral Foster gathered her things. I must return to Earth. I suggest that all of you move your ships away from Vorthon space. Things are about to get very ugly. As Helen left the chambers, Enthara called after her. Admiral, please remember that mercy is a sign of strength, not weakness. Helen stopped at the door and turned back. Ambassador, you are right. Mercy is a sign of strength, but first the Vorthons have to return our children. Until then, they will learn why older species know not to cross Earth's young. The chamber erupted in worried chatter as the human delegation left. The chronicler remained silent, its light dim with ancient sadness. It had seen this before, and it knew how it would end. In the depths of space, human ships were already beginning to move. The sleeping giant was awakening, and the galaxy would never be the same. President Maria Santos stood at the window of the Oval Office, looking out at the crowds gathered on the White House lawn. Even at 3 in the morning, thousands of people held candles and signs demanding action. The video of Danny and Kate in chains had been broadcast worldwide 6 hours ago. The public response was unlike anything she had ever seen. Defense Secretary Ryan Cooper entered the room carrying a thick folder. Madam President, you need to see these numbers. Maria turned from the window. What numbers, Ryan? Recruitment numbers. In the past 8 hours, over 2 million people have tried to enlist in the Space Force. Army and Navy recruitment centers are reporting lines that stretch for blocks. We have had to open emergency processing centers just to handle the volume. Maria sat down heavily in her chair. 2 million? That is just the beginning, Ryan continued. We are getting calls from retired officers volunteering to return to service. Captain Chris Bennett came out of retirement this morning. He commanded the battleship USS Montana during the Proxima border crisis. Commander Amy Davis postponed her wedding and reported for duty an hour ago. The president rubbed her temples. What about our allies? Are they supporting us? That is complicated, Ryan admitted. The Zilani are fully committed. They have offered their entire fleet. The Altarians are calling for restraint and negotiation. Most other species are staying neutral. General Patricia Hayes, chairman of the Joint Chiefs, entered the room. Madam President, I need to brief you on our military options. Maria nodded. Go ahead, Patricia. We have 3 possible courses of action, the general began. First, we could attempt a limited rescue operation. Send in special forces to extract our people and withdraw. What are the chances of success? Low. Vorthon space is heavily defended and we do not know exactly where our people are being held. What is option 2? A targeted military strike. Destroy key Vorthon installations and military assets until they agree to negotiate. And option 3? General Hayes was quiet for a moment. Total war. We mobilize everything we have and do not stop until the Vorthon Empire surrenders unconditionally. President Santos stood up and walked back to the window. The crowd outside had grown larger. People were singing patriotic songs and chanting the names of Danny Roberts and Kate Williams. Patricia, what is your recommendation? Madam President, I have been a soldier for 30 years. I have fought in 4 wars and seen terrible things, but I have never seen the American people this united about anything. They want their children back, and they do not care what it costs. Ryan Cooper stepped forward. Madam President, we need to consider the political implications. If we go to war over 2 people, the rest of the galaxy will see us as unstable and dangerous. They already see us as dangerous, said a new voice from the doorway. Dr. Elizabeth Carter, Earth's leading expert on alien psychology, entered the room. I have been monitoring galactic communications. Half the species in the galaxy are moving their fleets away from anywhere near Vorthan space. Why would they do that? President Santos asked. Because they remember stories their grandparents told them, Dr. Carter explained. Stories about what humans do when they're young or threatened. Most species thought they were just myths, but apparently some older civilizations take them very seriously. General Hayes looked confused. What stories? Dr. Carter pulled out her tablet. I have been researching this for the past few hours. It seems that about 150 years ago, early in our space exploration period, there was an incident with a species called the Devourers. They specialized in taking children from other races. What happened to them? Ryan asked. They no longer exist. According to what records I can find, they made the mistake of taking 17 human children. The response was so swift and complete that the entire species was wiped out within 6 months. The room fell silent. President Santos turned from the window. Are you saying we committed genocide? I am saying that humans have a very specific response pattern when their children are threatened, Dr. Carter replied. It is biological, not political. When human young are in danger, the adult population enters what we call hyper-protective mode. Rational thought decreases, risk assessment disappears, and the only priority becomes recovering the children. Ryan. Cooper frowned. But surely we can control these impulses. We are civilized people. Dr. Carter shook her head. Mr. Secretary, have you seen the crowds outside? Have you looked at the recruitment numbers? This is not about civilization. This is about something much older and deeper. President Santos walked back to her desk. How long do we have before the public demands action? Based on current trends, about 72 hours, Dr. Carter said. After that, if we have not acted, we will likely see massive protests, work stoppages, and possibly civil unrest. General, Hayes checked her watch. Madam President, I need a decision. If we are going to move, we need to start positioning assets now. Maria Santos looked around the room at her advisors. These were smart, rational people who had helped her govern for 3 years, but she could see something different in their eyes now. The same fire that burned in the crowds outside was burning in them too. Elizabeth, what would happen if we tried to negotiate? If we offered the Vorthans something valuable in exchange for our people? Dr. Carter consulted her tablet. Based on Vorthan psychology profiles, they would see it as weakness. They might even kill the prisoners to demonstrate their power. The president made her decision. Patricia, implement option 3. I want every ship we have moving toward Vorthan space within 24 hours. Yes, Madam President, General Hayes replied. What about our allies who are calling for restraint? Tell them we appreciate their concern, but this is not negotiable. The Vorthans took our children. We are going to get them back. As the meeting broke up, Ryan Cooper approached the president. Maria, are you sure about this? We could be starting a war that spreads across the entire galaxy. President Santos looked out at the crowds one more time. Ryan, do you have children? Yes, 2 daughters. And if someone took them and hurt them, what would you do? Ryan was quiet for a moment. I would tear the universe apart to get them back. Then, you understand, Maria said. This is not about politics or diplomacy. This is about bringing our kids home. Within hours, Earth's military machine was mobilizing on a scale not seen since the colony wars. Shipyards that had been building cargo, vessels switched to producing warships, factories that made farming equipment retooled to manufacture weapons. The entire planet seemed to be moving with one purpose. Captain Tony Miller had been fishing in Alaska when he got the call. Within 6 hours, he was on a transport to Luna, base where he would take command of the heavy cruiser USS Defiance. Around him, hundreds of other officers were making the same journey. Engineer Paul Kim left his job at the Mars terraforming project and reported to the shipyards. His expertise in power systems would help retrofit civilian ships for military Like thousands of others, he did not think twice about abandoning his civilian life. Lieutenant Colonel Nicole Price was teaching at the War College when she received her orders. She would lead a special operations team deep into Vorthon territory. The mission was classified, but she knew it involved rescuing Danny Roberts and Kate Williams. As Earth's fleets began to assemble, the rest of the galaxy watched with growing alarm. The humans were not just mobilizing their military, they were transforming their entire civilization into a war machine focused on one goal. Ambassador Zenthera sent urgent messages to Earth, pleading for restraint. The Vorthon Empire offered to negotiate, suggesting they might be willing to release some of the prisoners in exchange for trade concessions. But it was too late. The sleeping giant was fully awake now, and it would not rest until its children came home. The Vorthons were about to learn why older civilizations knew better than to cross Earth's young. Commander Steve Walsh crouched in the shadows outside the Vorthon communications station on the mining world of Keth 7. Behind him, 5 other members of his special operations team waited for his signal. They had been traveling for 2 weeks, through hidden jump points that Earth intelligence had somehow discovered in Vorthon space. Steve activated his helmet communicator. Ghost Team is in position. Beginning Phase 1. Lieutenant Colonel Nicole Price's voice came through clearly, despite being transmitted across 3 star systems. Copy that, Ghost Team. Phoenix Team is moving on the supply depot. Remember, we want maximum disruption with minimum casualties. What the Vorthons did not know was that Earth had been preparing for this moment since the first news of the kidnapping arrived. While politicians talked and diplomats negotiated, Earth's intelligence services had activated sleeper agents, hacked into communication networks, and gathered detailed information about every aspect of Vorthon society. Steve's team moved like shadows through the facility. They did not kill the guards. Instead, they used advanced stun weapons that would keep the Vorthons unconscious for hours. The mission was not about revenge, it was about sending a message. Within minutes, they had reached the main communication array. Specialist Karen White, the team's electronics expert, began connecting her equipment to the Vorthon systems. "I am in," she whispered, "uploading the virus now." The virus was a work of art created by Earth's best cyber warfare specialists. It would not just shut down this communication station. It would spread through the entire Vorthon network, creating cascading failures throughout their empire. As Karen worked, Steve watched the displays showing Vorthon military positions. What he saw made him angry. The Vorthons had spread their forces thin across hundreds of systems, confident that no one would dare attack them. They were about to learn how wrong they were. On the other side of Vorthon space, Captain Tony Miller commanded a different kind of operation. His ship, the USS Defiance, was not attacking military targets. Instead, they were systematically destroying the infrastructure that kept Vorthon society functioning. "Target acquired," reported Weapons Officer Lieutenant Sandra Clark. "Automated freight station bearing 27 Mark IV. Tony studied the target on his screen. The station handled cargo transfers for 12 different star systems. Destroying. It would not kill anyone, but it would create massive supply shortages within days. "Fire!" he ordered. The Defiance's main guns spoke once. The freight station disappeared in a ball of expanding plasma. Around the galaxy, similar attacks were happening simultaneously. Human forces were not just hitting military targets. They were dismantling the economic and social systems that held the Vorthon Empire together. High Commander Krextal stood in his command center on Vorthon Prime, watching reports flood in from across his empire. In the past week, over 200 facilities had been attacked. Not one human ship had been captured or even identified. "How are they doing this?" he demanded of his intelligence chief. "Where are these ships coming from?" Intelligence Director Vexrath checked his reports. "Sir, we believe they are using some kind of stealth technology we have never encountered. Our sensors cannot track them." "What about the attacks themselves? Is there a pattern?" "Yes, sir, they are targeting communication hubs, supply stations, and transport networks. They seem to know exactly which targets will cause the most disruption." Krextal slammed his fist on the command table. "They are trying to make us look weak. Send a message to all human territories. Tell them that for every attack, we will execute. one of their prisoners. Before Vexrath could respond, all the screens in the command center went dark. Then slowly, a new image appeared. It showed a human in military uniform, sitting calmly in what looked like a ship's bridge. "Hi, Commander Krextal," the human said in perfect Vorthon. "I am Admiral Scott Peterson of the Earth Space Force. I have a message for you." Krextal stared at the screen in shock. "How did you access our secure network?" Admiral Peterson smiled, but it was not a friendly expression. "Commander, we have accessed all of your networks. We know the location of every ship, every base, and every facility in your empire. We know your military codes, your supply schedules, and your defense plans." "Impossible. Our security systems are the best in the galaxy. Your security systems were designed to stop other Vorthons, not humans. You made one critical error, Commander. You assumed we think like you do." Krextal tried to cut the transmission, but nothing happened. The human continued speaking. "Here is what is going to happen. You will release all human prisoners immediately and return them to Earth space unharmed. You will also pay compensation for the damages you have caused. In return, we will stop dismantling your empire." "Never!" Krextal shouted. "The Vorthon Empire does not negotiate with inferior species." Admiral Peterson's expression grew cold. "Commander, in the past week, we have demonstrated that we can strike any target in your empire without you even knowing how. We have crippled your economy and disrupted your military communications, and we have done all of this with less than 1% of our available forces. You are bluffing. Humans are weak. You do not have the strength to threaten us. Commander, you are making the same mistake many others have made. You confuse our desire for peace with weakness. Let me be very clear. We did not want this war. You forced it on us when you took our children." The image on the screen changed to show vast fleets of human ships moving through space. Hundreds of vessels, from small destroyers to massive dreadnoughts, all bearing the insignia of Earth. "These fleets are already in position around your major systems," Admiral Peterson continued. "They are not here to conquer territory or claim resources. They have one mission: bring our children home. Return Danny Roberts, Kate Williams, and the others, and this ends. Continue to hold them, and we will show you what humans are truly capable of when you threaten our young." Krextal found his voice. "You would start a galactic war over a few prisoners? Commander, the war has already started. You started it when you put our people in chains. The only question now is how it ends." The transmission cut off, leaving the Vorthon command center in stunned silence. For the first time since the crisis began, Krextal felt a cold fear in his stomach. His aide, Sub-Commander Thekrin, approached carefully. "Sir, what are your orders?" Krextal stared at the dark screens. Everything the human admiral had said was true. In 1 week, these mysterious attacks had caused more damage to the Empire than any previous enemy had managed in years of war. "Double the guard on the human prisoners," he ordered, "and send a message to all fleet commanders. I want every available ship moved to defend our core systems." As his officers hurried to carry out his orders, Krextal tried to understand what was happening. How had the humans penetrated so deeply into Vorthon space? How did they know so much about Vorthon operations? And most importantly, how many more ships were out there in the darkness waiting to strike? On Earth, President Santos watched the same transmission in the White House Situation Room. "How long before they break?" she asked. General Hayes consulted her reports. "Intelligence estimates another 2 weeks at most. Their empire is already showing signs of serious strain. Food shortages on 12 worlds, communication blackouts affecting 30% of their territory, and their military is spread too, thin, trying to protect everything. And our people? Still alive as far as we know. Our agents are trying to pinpoint their exact location." President Santos nodded. "Make sure Admiral Peterson knows that if the Vorthons harm any of our people, all restraints are off." In the depths of space, human ships continued their deadly game of hide and seek. The Vorthons were learning what it meant to fight an enemy that did not follow the traditional rules of war. Earth's forces struck from the shadows, hit the most vulnerable targets, and disappeared before anyone could respond. The empire that had seemed so strong just weeks ago was beginning to crumble. And still the humans kept coming. Danny Roberts recovered fully from his wounds and returned to active duty. He often spoke to new recruits about his experience, always ending with the same message. No matter where you are in the galaxy, no matter how far from home, remember that Earth will never abandon its children. The Vorthan Empire became a cautionary tale told throughout the galaxy. Their homeworld was eventually rebuilt with human assistance, but they never again achieved spacefaring capability. They served as a permanent reminder of what happened when someone broke the oldest rule in the galaxy. Admiral Peterson retired with full honors and returned to his family farm in Iowa. When asked about the Vorthan War, he always gave tea. Admiral Scott Peterson stood on the bridge of the USS Retribution, watching Vorthan Prime grow larger on the main screen. The massive dreadnought was accompanied by only one other ship, the carrier USS Vengeance commanded by Captain Janet Brooks. It seemed like a small force to challenge an entire empire, but appearances could be deceiving. "Admiral, we are receiving multiple hails from Vorthan ships," reported Communications Officer Lieutenant Mark Thompson. "They want to know our intentions." Scott looked at the tactical display. 37 Vorthan warships surrounded the planet while hundreds more were positioned throughout the system. 3 weeks of systematic attacks had finally forced them to pull their forces back to defend their homeworld. "Open a channel to all Vorthan vessels and planetary installations," Scott ordered. "Channel open, sir." Scott stepped forward, his voice calm and steady. "I am Admiral Scott Peterson of the Earth Space Force. I am here to collect our people and bring them home. Surrender the prisoners now, and your world will be spared." High Commander Krextal's face appeared on the screen. Behind him, Scott could see the chaos of the Vorthan Command Center. Officers were running between stations and damage reports were coming in constantly. "Admiral Peterson, you are outnumbered 30-1. Surrender now, and I might allow your crews to live as slaves, alongside your friends." Scott smiled grimly. "Commander, you still do not understand what you are dealing with. You see 2 ships and think we are weak. Let me show you what you are really facing." He nodded to his communications officer. "Execute Operation Daybreak." All around Vorthan Prime, space began to shimmer. Dozens of ships appeared out of stealth mode, their weapons already trained on Vorthan targets. The enemy fleet found themselves surrounded by Earth vessels that had been hiding in plain sight. "This is Captain Eric Barnes of the USS Thunder," came a voice over the communication channel. "All Vorthan ships power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded." Krextal stared at the display in horror. His tactical officer was reporting contact after contact appearing on sensors. In seconds, the Vorthan fleet had gone from hunters to hunted. "How?" Krextal whispered. "We have been here for 2 days," Scott explained. "Our stealth technology is beyond anything you can imagine. We could have destroyed your entire fleet at any time. But we came here for one reason only. Where are our people?" For the first time since the crisis began, Krextal realized he was beaten. The human ships around his fleet were not just technologically superior. They were positioned with perfect tactical precision, blocking every escape route and covering every angle of attack. "They are in the detention facility on the northern continent," he admitted. "But you will never reach them. The facility is heavily guarded and shielded against rescue attempts." Scott turned to Captain Brooks on the secondary screen. "Janet, launch the rescue mission." "Already in progress, Admiral." Marine Colonel Eric Barnes and his team are 30 seconds out from the facility. On the surface of Vorthan Prime, Colonel Barnes led 12 Marines through the corridors of the detention center. Their advanced armor made them nearly invisible to Vorthan sensors, and their weapons could cut through the strongest Vorthan materials like paper. "Target acquired," reported Sergeant First Class David Kim over the radio. "I have visual on the human prisoners." Barnes moved to the front of the formation. Through the transparent aluminum wall, he could see them. Danny Roberts and Kate Williams were alive, though they looked thin and tired. Dr. Lisa Thompson was with them, along with the other members of their research team. "Breaching charges set," reported Corporal Amanda Foster. "Execute." The wall exploded inward, filling the corridor with smoke and debris. The Marines moved through the gap like ghosts, stunning the Vorthan guards before they could react. Danny Roberts looked up at the armored figure approaching him. "Are you real, or am I dreaming?" Colonel Barnes pulled off his helmet, revealing a weathered face and kind eyes. "Son, we are here to take you home." Kate Williams burst into tears as the Marines cut through their restraints. "We knew you would come. We knew you would not leave us here." As the rescue team prepared to evacuate the prisoners, their communication systems crackled with an urgent message. "All teams, this is Base Command. We have a problem. The facility's automated defenses have activated. They are going to kill the prisoners rather than let them be rescued." Barnes looked at the energy barriers sliding down to seal the corridors. "How long do we have?" 60 seconds before the facility floods with poison gas." Danny struggled to his feet, still weak from weeks of imprisonment. "Colonel, there are other prisoners here. Civilians from a dozen different species. You cannot leave them." Barnes made a split-second decision. "Foster, Kim, get our people to the extraction point. Everyone else, we are getting all the prisoners out." "Sir, we do not have time," Sergeant Kim protested. "We make time," Barnes replied. "No one gets left behind." What happened next became legend in the Earth Space Force. In 58 seconds, 12 Marines evacuated over 200 prisoners from a heavily fortified facility. They moved with inhuman speed and precision, carrying those who could not walk and clearing paths through locked barriers. As the last prisoner was lifted to safety, the facility's defenses activated. Poison gas began flooding the corridors, but the rescue teams were already gone. On the USS Retribution, Admiral Peterson watched the rescue ships dock with his vessel. Danny Roberts and Kate Williams were safe, along with all the other prisoners. But as he prepared to order the fleet's withdrawal, his communications officer reported a problem. "Admiral, we are receiving a transmission from the detention facility. It appears that during the evacuation, Ensign Roberts was shot by a guard. He is badly wounded." Scott felt his blood turn to ice. "How badly?" "Unknown, sir. The medical team is working on him now." Before Scott could respond, another message arrived. This one was from High Commander Krextall, and it was broadcast on all frequencies. "Admiral Peterson, one of your young humans has died from his wounds. We regret this unfortunate accident during your illegal rescue operation." Scott stared at the screen for a long moment. Around him, the bridge crew waited in absolute silence. Finally, he turned to his tactical officer. "Lieutenant Rodriguez, activate the fleet's targeting systems. All ships, all weapons." "Sir?" Lieutenant Maria Rodriguez looked uncertain. "You heard me. Target every Vorthan military installation, every government building, and every ship in this system." "Admiral?" Captain Brooks called from the USS Vengeance. "Are you sure about this? Danny might still be alive." Scott's expression was stone cold. "Captain, send a message to Earth Command. Tell them the Vorthans have crossed the final line. There will be no survivors." But before the order could be executed, the medical bay contacted the bridge. "Admiral, this is Dr. Sarah Patterson. Ensign Roberts is alive. He was hit by an energy weapon, but his armor absorbed most of the impact. He will make a full recovery." The relief on the bridge was palpable, but Scott's expression did not change. "Commander Krextall, you just lied to me about the death of one of my people. That was a mistake. What followed was not a battle. It was a demonstration. The human fleet systematically destroyed every Vorthan warship in the system. They did not target the planet itself, but every military installation, communication array, and government building was reduced to rubble. In 3 hours, the Vorthan Empire's ability to function as a military power was completely eliminated. High Commander Krextall found himself ruler of a broken empire with no ships, no communication network, and no way to project power beyond his own world. As the human fleet prepared to depart, Admiral Peterson sent one final message. "Commander, your empire is finished. Your military is destroyed and your economy is in ruins. But you and your people are alive because our children are safe. Remember this lesson and share it with anyone foolish enough to threaten Earth's young in the future." 6 months later, the Galactic Council met an emergency session to address what had become known as the Vorthan Crisis. Representatives from dozens of species voted unanimously to establish the Terra Protocols. Formal recognition that harming human children or young adults was considered an act of species suicide. The chronicler, ancient keeper of galactic history, addressed the assembly for the last time before returning to its long sleep. The warning that existed in whispers and legends is now written in law. No species shall harm Earth's children, for their parents will move heaven and earth to bring them home. Kate Williams, now promoted to lieutenant commander, served aboard the USS Guardian, flagship of the new Galactic Patrol. Her mission was to ensure that no species ever again made the mistake of underestimating human protective instincts.